Good morning, folks. My name is Gary Markham here from Bilr, mobile and desktop voice-activated time recording platform. We're going to talk a little bit about how AI is affecting the legal community, not just from a time recording point of view, but other perspectives as well. We'll also look at some of the technology behind the app and some industry trends. So with that, I will crack on. So Bilr was born out of a company that we've been running for nearly 20 years, where we've helped clients and others to generate over $500 million should I say, in revenues. We've also got a strategic partnership with LEDES. This is the first commercial relationship that the LEDES Oversight Committee has had in its 24 years of history. And this is to basically expand the utility of LEDES, UTBMS codes, and the data analytics and metrics that run off the back of that. We also have a partnership and an integration with LawPay, which is the world's largest legal payments platform. So some of the technology. Our purpose in life really is to help raise the revenue bar for law firms. One of the main principles that we believe in is not leaving it until you have accruals within your accounts receivable, because if you're doing that, you're ending up chasing a losing battle. The horse is already bolted, the money's sitting in a place where you're trying to recover. We believe being more proactive upstream in the process, and I'll get into that in a moment, is where you can help save your firm a lot of money. So some of the technology trending we're seeing here is a massive increase in not just AI, but other forms of technology in the legal world. So Law Geeks, and I think it was Thomson Reuters, their studies are showing a very large increase in 2019, and they're not seeing any tapering off of that trend through 2020 of general spend in technology to enable efficiencies within law firms. That's a pretty big jump for year on year. So some of the AI studies that we looked at, as I said, weren't just related to time recording and billing and invoicing and accounts receivable. You probably heard some studies that have gone on within things like NDAs and contract management, where lawyers have been pitted against AI, or you have one lawyer that is AI enabled and the other lawyer that is not. And in one study where they had NDAs, standard NDAs in place, 5 attorneys pitted against the AI machine. The AI was 94% accurate in its review of the document, the attorneys 85. In terms of the time efficiency, which is more stark, the AI was able to complete the NDA review with that level of accuracy in 26 seconds, whereas the attorneys took over an hour and a half. So you can see the imbalance there between the two. And this isn't around necessarily saying, well, gee, that can impact our billable hours. I think you could look at it like that, but I think the better way to look at it is how can I utilize this technology to be leveraging how fast we can produce work product and have our associates perhaps being more productive in other areas, but using the technology as a leverage, as an enabler, as opposed to a pure replacement attorney for a piece of software, which is quite scary, obviously. Another study we looked at is a show that's on the BBC called Click. It's all about technology. They look at all different augmented reality and virtual reality. On the AI side, they pitted 2 attorneys against each other, both 8 years PQE, to review a 20-page commercial contract and find the pitfalls in it and the recommendations as how they would mark that contract up if they were advising the client. So the AI-enabled attorney, again, did it much faster than the un-AI-enabled attorney, and the accuracy levels were about similar to the prior study. What they did, though, is they hit a little clause in there that said, once you sign this contract, you're going to pay the other party $15 million. Now, it might have been in the liabilities or the insurance clause or some innocuous place where you probably wouldn't look. You think, oh, that's just the legalese, I don't need to study that. Well, the AI-enabled attorney found it, and the one without the AI did not. So a very stark example, but just again, the benefits of having AI or technology helping the lawyer to fulfill the job more timely and more accurately, and obviously not cut checks for $15 million to the other party, because you missed it. I don't think the lawyer would have survived if that would have been in a real life scenario. So, and a general trend we're also seeing is that the assistance of technology in the legal process with attorneys and paralegals, we're seeing that there is more enabling technology. So if you go back to that map I showed you earlier, and that spend, where we're seeing the increase in spend year on year, there's a lot more technology coming into the space which is used to augment and enhance the way in which operating models work within law firms, just to make them more efficient. And of course, efficiencies drive margin, that drives revenue, and so forth. So consider it as an ability to take on more caseload with the same amount of resources. So for Bilr, we're focused on time recording and invoicing and submittal of clean invoices to your client. I'm sure you're all subjected to certain guidelines. You're all having to submit e-bills. So we understand that world very well. As I said earlier, we're a part of LEDES. Just like we're a Microsoft shop, we're also a LEDES shop. We've adopted machine learning. I use AI very sparingly in terms of our tech because it takes a long while to get there. To me, it's kind of graduating. You get your associates, your bachelor's, your master's, and then your PhD, and then you do AI. People claim to have AI. It takes a ton of data, billions and billions of line entries to be able to figure out that that's a pool that you can call from, and then know what to do with the data. So as I say, we've been running machine learning and predictive analytics for a while. We've just turned on AI in the automation and semi-automation of the UTBMS code selection. So it just makes that process easier. And we have other use cases down the line. At the end of 2020, I'm actually hoping to create what I'm calling the digital lawyer. So this is a virtual attorney that's AI enabled, and I'm going to pit that attorney against a human attorney and see how efficient they are from a time recording and invoicing point of view, and see what returns they get in the accounts receivable. Now, it's a hypothetical exercise, but we are moving down that path, and I think subject to ethics and touch points and review and edits within the firm, I think this is another branch where we can see much more technology coming into play in the time recording and invoicing side of the equation. Because again, that actually takes time to do that process, right? So the more efficient we can make that, the more efficient the firm, or the attorney and the firm, and again, back to the margin and the revenues. So in our studies and other studies we've seen from MIT and from Harvard, we're seeing losses. Again, this is generally across the industry, multiple classes of business and case types, of a loss between 8 and 11% of gross revenues. That's from the point of the time record to the accounts receivable actual and every step in between. So there's leakage across this entire process. That converts into a 22 to 44% margin loss, assuming a 25% profit margin at your firm, which is not unreasonable. So 8% of gross, 32% of margin. These are huge numbers when you think about it. You're running a multi-million-dollar practice. This is really hurting you. This doesn't include discounting or give-backs or any pro bono work either. It's all factored out. So some of the symptoms of the problem, what we're seeing is a big focus on accounts receivable at the back end. And we know that there's vendors out there that help firms recover their accounts receivables. It's low-hanging fruit. It's dollars sitting there waiting to be paid and brought in the door. I get that. That's fine. We tend to look at it more as a holistic approach. So we want to see the entire process cleaned up. We don't want to see time records rushed. We don't want to see the invoicing preparation and review process rushed. We don't want to see the submittal process rushed, because your clients are going to ding you. You're going to lose revenue because you've done a very poor job of collecting those records and submitting what I'll call dirty data invoicing. So our belief is that you move the process upstream, and I'll get to that in a moment, and you create adoption of this type of technology to make sure that all of your timekeepers, all of your attorneys, those that are recording time that's billable to the clients, do it consistently. So, I mentioned the river and the stream. I give you the river and the stream. Now, what is this analogy all about? The source of a river is a small spring that comes out of the ground, it comes down from the mountain, it's very clean water. By the time that creates a creek and a stream and then a river and it ends up in the sea, well, there's a lot of things that might have happened to that in the meantime. There we go. So you have runoff from farms, from nitrates, you have pollution coming in from factories and manufacturing and refineries and la 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 la. So at the end of the day, you end up in the dirty foreshore waters of the ocean. This is where most ELMs, Enterprise Legal Management and Bill Review processes, work. Here. They don't work upstream, they work retrospectively, after the fact, after the bill's been submitted. And it's very easy to pick holes in invoicing. I know that because we've been in that space for a very long time. And you may say, well, this guy's a poacher turned gamekeeper, and I would agree with that. That's exactly what we're doing. The knowledge, the body of knowledge that we've gathered through finding holes in invoices for 20 years, we're now using to good effect with our law firm clients to help them from not doing that anymore. So bad data in, bad results coming out. So we try and fix that by staying upstream, moving the finish line from the back end to the front end. So we call this our upriver tech. So as I said, moving the process upstream, creating clean time records. We have voice-enabled technology, which means you can use Siri, Alexa, Google. You can talk to your phone on Bluetooth while you're driving down the highway and literally record time, which converts into an invoice line entry. We also know that your clients hold you accountable to terms and conditions, SLAs, billing guidelines, etc. So we bake those into the system. So once your attorneys have recorded their time, we stick it into the application so your billing staff, your clerics, your administrators, your finance folks can get in there and identify these and fix them pre-submission of the invoice. And that looks a little bit like this. So again, excuse me if the resolution is not that great. I did a screen grab and dumped it into the slide here. But effectively, you look at the highlights on the left-hand side, we're flagging the fact that this invoice is going to be dinged by your client, but before it's submitted. And we give the opportunity to your billing staff to fix those things. So standard rules of, I need prior approval to submit a motion or file a motion. I'm doing legal research in excess of a certain numeric value. Whatever those rules might be, I'm going to get hit for a duplicate. It's vague line entry. It's, block billing, whatever the rules might be. These are all standard rules, and there are hundreds of them, as you know. We bake all those in per client, per matter, so that you can flag those early. And then we enable that to be fixed. Here's a sample screenshot of a fix. This is a duplicate. Happens all the time. You're going to get hit 100% of that duplicate line is going to be cut out from your bill. I know that because we have technology that catches this all the time. So why not catch it early? Catch it early, fix it. If it was a genuine dupe, okay, you can just say, I'm happy to take the hit. But if it wasn't, you can amend it, you can fix it, create the line, and then submit it as part of the invoice. So we go through that process wherever the hits might be or whatever the potential hits might be, and we enable the law firm to fix those pre-submission. So in doing all this, what we're also able to do is capture a lot of data. And we're big into our data analytics. Oh, that looks okay. On the left-hand side is pre-Bilr, which is you're recovering about 90% of your revenues. And on the right-hand side is post-Bilr, you're recovering around 98% of your revenues. And what we enable you to do here is you can compare by region, by case type, by office, by practice area, by timekeeper. You can compare one-to-one. You can compare one as to many. So why would you want to do that? If I'm the managing partner or if I'm the revenue partner, I don't want to wait till December 15th to find out that my attorneys have underbilled by 20% for the year because I'm in a bit of a problem. I want to know by the hour, I want to know by the day, and by the week, and by the month, who are conforming to the requirements to submit line entries and bills that meet the practice's revenue targets, right? This is a helicopter view that allows practice managers and managing partners to look and see what's happening. And we use things like alerts, traffic lights. Green is good, amber's kind of getting a little bit suspect, and red, well, red's going to send an email to my boss and say, why isn't Gary recording his time? And I'm going to get a phone call and an email and say, Gary, what are you doing? So what does that mean? It's a behavioral, what we call an electronic mousetrap that makes behavior change in a certain way. If I know my boss is literally on my shoulder here looking at what I'm doing because of this technology, I'll behave in a different way than if he wasn't or she wasn't. So what that means is people then comply. You can even drive competition between practice areas and other practice areas, one office against another, one timekeeper against another. And we see this happening, which is healthy because it means you're going to have a better chance of hitting those revenue targets. And again, just some breakdown between the different types of slices of the data, where the revenue is being generated by branch area, by practice area, branch office area, practice area, timekeeper groups. So we can slice and dice the data. And down the bottom here, you can see a number, $2.27 million. So that's the number that was saved by Bilr, the utility of Bilr, by that law firm during this period of time in things that were alerted by the system and that they adjusted to make sure that they billed and were paid that money. And that's the whole purpose of the application. So I'm going to say thank you. For those that want any more information, we're at booth 321, which is through those doors, but unfortunately you have to go up and along and around and down, as we all know. I don't know why they force us to do that, but I guess it's good exercise. We have a live demo available at the booth as well, if you want to come and check that out and see some of this live. We have a coffee machine, we have some good merch to give away as well, so please do come by. I'm happy to have a chat here at the stage between now and when the next talk is up. So thank you very much.